Hello everybody, this is Joseph from More Than Friends. And today we're going to be looking at a little game that's near and dear to my heart, Einhander. Please enjoy. 1998 was a historical year in gaming. That was the year of Half-Life, Metal Gear Solid, and The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. In addition, a lesser-known shooter, Einhander, was released that year to favorable reception. With it being the 20th anniversary of Einhander, it seems appropriate to run down what makes it so special and what I'd like to see from a remake. The shoot-'em-up or shmup genre died a while ago, which is why fans have been clamoring for more games like Einhander. Granted, there aren't many games exactly like it. The style is what sets it apart, something that works to the game's benefit. At the time, many shmups were released, most likely causing an oversaturated market. 1998 was a time when developers were experimenting with 3D assets, but for the most part, many of those early attempts don't stand the test of time. With this shooter, however, the subtle mix of 3D assets presented as a 2D side-scroller make for an interesting visual style. This sometimes is referred to as 2.5D. What's even more interesting is the slight shift in camera angle that occurs within each level. It changes from a standard side-scrolling to a more diagonal view, something that still impresses me today, simply because you just don't see stuff like that anymore. Aside from the intriguing perspective, Einhander still looks beautiful, even 20 years later. The explosions caused after a ship is destroyed look stunning, but the real spectacle is the design of the backgrounds. Right from the start, the visuals are captivating, with the opening level containing colorful signs and billboards that pop out. It doesn't just stop there though. There are levels with beautiful skies, oceans, and even underground Mega Man-esque settings. Something about the color palette is impressive, especially for a PS1 game from the late 90s. What good is a beautiful game if it doesn't control well? Einhander has that covered too. The controls are simple, and movement is limited to up, down, left, right, but a game doesn't have to be complicated to feel good. Shooters like these can get hectic, so precise controls are a must, and it's a relief that the responsiveness is timeless. Some games feel clunkier the older they get, but that's not the case with this shooter. What about a possible remake or remaster or sequel? Well, it doesn't seem like Square is showing much interest in this, unfortunately. It's understandable, since games aren't cheap to make and companies need to make money after all. That being said, it's still fun to speculate on what improvements could be made if a new iteration was released. Like many of the games from that era, Einhander definitely shows some signs of age. For starters, implementing a more graceful checkpoint or save system could be ideal. It still runs on an arcade-style continue system, where there are a limited number of lives to finish the story. This was probably common at the time, but it's something that should be reworked in a possible reboot or remake. It's a tough game, and having to restart the entire story can be beyond frustrating. With it being heavily influenced by arcade shooters, the game was designed to be finished in a short amount of time. It's a classic case with older games. We'd like to see a more fleshed out story mode that has some meat to it. It's hard to get by these days with a game that can be finished in a couple hours. Sure, experiences don't need to be long to be good, but I just want more Einhander. I'd also love to see a system with different endings. It's no secret that player choice is all the rave, and when implemented correctly, can be rewarding. This way, players can be motivated to go back through and play through the game multiple times. The requirements for getting these various endings could be interesting, like finishing the game without dying. Please don't let that be tied to a trophy. Regardless of how the different endings would be unlocked, I'd love to have a reason to run back through. Just as player choice is a popular thing these days, so is multiplayer. Being able to play through this with a friend sounds like a blast, whether it be online or couch co-op. Something like this would bring even more longevity to the game and hopefully keep players around. While the weapon arsenal isn't bare bones, it could benefit from having more options. Perhaps merely expanding the weapon variety to give players more choice may take away from the simplicity, but even the inclusion of a few more weapons could be awesome. Think of the bombs in Resogun or the grab mechanic from Pixel Junk Shooter. Einhander is a game that feels like it's forgotten, with a tiny niche audience still backing it to this day. It's easy to see why Square isn't interested in the IP at this time, but nostalgia is a powerful thing, and this game could be successful even in 2018. Developers have a knack for honoring a game's birthday, so I've got my fingers crossed for something this year. Thank you all for watching, and please click the notification bell so you know when we put out a new video. Also, check out our website at mtfproductions.com/gaming for more video game coverage.